welcome back to Warhammer Workshop, or maybe should I say 40K Radio, because today I have a special guest with me. It's Matt Alix, my co-host from 40K Radio, the podcast. And what we're going to do today is a quick unboxing of the Legions Imperialis box set. Is that what we're talking about?
Legions Imperialis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went too much into the typical parlance that Games Workshop tends to give 40K. So you received on behalf of 40K Radio, you received the core box set and a few of the expansions. Is that correct?
Yes. So Games Workshop was kind enough as a paid promotion to send us the core box, some expansions, and also the flying bases that are going to be being released to rebase your Aeronautica miniatures.
Oh boy, I can't wait to unbox those.
Well, they come in a bag, so
sweet. Well, I mean, let's not prevaricate around the bush too long. I think what everybody's eager to see is what comes in this box. So I'll just let you go out and show us, and I'll just pop in with my questions and comments as we go along.
All right. So here is the upside down. No, here's the box.
Oh, you're good. You're
I'm
good.
good. And to give you an idea, I have the Battle Force Augustus box here. So that's about the size comparison we've got. So not quite as big as Leviathan, but then again, the miniatures are smaller. So when you pop open the box, the first thing you get right on top is a couple of the old-fashioned whippy sticks, and they still make that great sound.
We're sticking to that stuff. Are there going to be templates too?
Well, let's dig through and find out. So we've got some sprues of the minis here. We have a Solar Auxilia sprue. You've got your troops. You can see the walkers down at the bottom there. And the nice thing that I like about these sprues is you can see all the actual individual minis. They're connected on the bottom for the troops. So very easy to paint up on the sprue.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice touch that for at least not the non-multi-part ones, they're connected just on the base. We have another Solar Auxilia sprue here, again with the walkers at the bottom. You can see the Ogrins, which do come in the box down here at the bottom. They are a couple pieces to those, so those will be multi-part models. However, they're quite big compared to the regular troops. The legs are just about the size of a regular troop for the Ogrins.
Right.
So you get.
I have to say, I'm almost a little disappointed that they're actually doing models for the troops. I was kind of hoping for tokens, but Games Workshop is a modeling company, so.
Yeah, and I think that sticks in with the way the games have been in the past, right? They've always been models, even if they've been almost lumpless shapeless lumps with no details. They've always used models.
Yeah, and to be fair, with the technology they have now, those tiny models don't look quite as dumb and pointless than the previous ones. It actually looks like you're painting something, which I'll give it to them. It's kind of cool.
The Space Marine sprues are very similar, just about the same. You have all the different types of Space Marines, and then at the bottom of this one looks to be some Dreadnoughts, and then this second sprue is, again, pretty much the same, except down at the bottom you have the different Dreadnought.
Can you move it up? I just want to see the Dreadnoughts a bit more.
So they're pretty beefy. This one's you can see a torso right there. And then the body and stuff is kind of on the bottom of this sprue a little bit.
So from a scale perspective, would you say a Dreadnought is maybe about the same size as some normal 40K infantry? Or a bit
no,
smaller?
it's definitely smaller than that.
Okay.
But still, it looks appropriately sized next to the Space Marine infantry. So there's two sprues of troops in there, and then we do get the vehicle sprues. So we've got this one looks like some Lehman Russ tanks right on here, with various weapons, but it's got that signature Lehman Russ shape for the hull. And
I do love some Lehman Russ. Since I started painting them, now that I see them in Dark Tide all the time, they've got a special place in my heart.
And yet more tank sprues. That's sort of the final four remaining sprues. So you've got your Space Marine. I believe they're not the Kratos assault tanks. They're the Spartan assault tanks, I believe. So there's two on this sprue for that. Then we've got These look to be the Predators with the classic Hair Sierra kind of ball turrets. 3 on this sprue, and looks like you get 6 turrets because you can do las cannons or auto cannons. Looks like you'll be able to. This is always good, right, to be able to switch those out.
Oh, I like that. That's something about the new Games Workshop that I kind of appreciate. The fact that no longer did they try to force us to get multiple models or get really complicated magnetizing things to be able to have options. They just make sure that we can do what we need to do built in.
Yeah, it's a definite bonus, and that'll be the same for the MacLeod, the big tanks that the Imperial Guard have, or the Solar Auxiliary have in this. You can see there's multiple different turrets for the 2 tanks in here, 3 for each tank, so you do have some different options. And they're just, if you look at the back, they're just sort of drop in, right? They have the little plug that goes right into the hole on the top of the tank, so you'll be able to switch those out.
Very cool.
For the Warhounds, you get a typical AI AT Warhound sprue, right, with all the body parts and the carapace parts and the legs. So these 2 sprues are exactly the same, but what we do have in this is the weapon sprue, which has a whole bunch, as they said, new weapons on there. Right?
So these are all the weapons that used to be in resin, I assume?
There are, and there's also some new ones, but yes, shock lances. You kind of get a little bit. There's lots of weapons on this sprue, so you have lots of options when you equip the Titans in this game, and also, of course, they port over to Tempest Titanicus as well.
See, this is the thing. Like, the reason why I was hoping for tokens for the infantry is because when we're talking about Epic, I don't care about the infantry. I already play a lot of infantry in 40k. It's the idea of using handfuls of Titans with like armies of tanks and vehicles. That's what's attractive to me for the Epic scale stuff. So I like this movement from Titanicus to Epic for the Titans, because I never got into Titanicus. It's just too complicated and just another game. But this is a lot more attractive, especially since we'll be able to plug in some of our AI ships in there too.
Yeah, and whether it's on the podcast or a different video when we talk about the rules, you can do tank companies. You can do, you can bring in Titans as allies. There's no single Titan list yet, but we'll talk about that later. And of course, sprues, right? The classic.
There we
classic
go.
Orange sprues for whatever you need them for. You get the typical these days insert, which shows that, and also it's really just all the rebranded stuff on the back. It's a bunch of boxes of AI ships and Titans with the new Legions Imperialis.
I miss when those inserts were just large pieces of art.
Yeah, that was fantastic. You get a massive, decently sized rulebook. The nice thing about this rulebook, when we talk about it, is it has the army lists and all the stats in here, not just for what comes in the box, but for things that we didn't even know were coming yet, right? So rapier, laser destroyers, tarantulas, different kinds of tanks, all that stuff is in here in this book.
Now, at a glance, I don't know if you've had time to really have a look at it, but I'm assuming the book contains everything that's already out. Like, we're talking about all the planes and all the Titans that we already have available to us should be in the book from day one.
Yes, everything is in there, plus more.
Excellent. All right. I suspect Games Workshop dotted their I's and crossed their T's on that, but it's fun to be reassured.
You get 2 sheets of these tokens. These are the order tokens. So if you've seen the previews, the game kind of works almost like 2nd edition, where you have to give everybody an order of return, and these tokens just represent that.
That's funny, because my impression was that it borrowed also a little bit from Aeronautica Imperialis, in the sense that you gave hidden orders that you only revealed once you played the units.
Yeah, so you do. You give everybody an order, then both players reveal them all at the same time. Then you go through the turn choosing which order you want to activate your guys in. You go back and forth. It's alternating activations,
which is fantastic.
Yeah. So you do get 2 sheets of the tokens, and these would be the objective markers for the game. There are 2 reference sheets, which are, of course, fantastic, taking you kind of like an AT right through the game, double-sided.
Fantastic.
The obligatory assembly instructions, and a little sheet of transfers for all your different Titans. There's a couple different Legion ones on there, not very many, but really for the tanks and stuff, right? Some Solar Auxilia Regiment stuff.
Is there a Death Guard?
Let me see. You're gonna make me do.
I'm asking for, it's for the people, it's for our viewers, not for me
It looks
specifically.
looks like you have Sons of Horus, Death Guard, Iron Hands, and Imperial Fists, which is good for me. And then also, I think this is fantastic. Right here up in the corner, you have transfers for the banners,
Oh, that is very cool.
because all the
Yes.
all the command stands have banners. So.
That's true. Like I was gonna mention, like I've noticed that they have banners for people who want to really do really tiny freehand.
You do actually. This is a full real starter set because it comes with dice, including a classic scatter die, which is used in the game,
I don't even know if I still have scatter dice from way before.
and a big
think
bag. Oh, go ahead.
I think I got some recently in a. Didn't they put out a game recently that uses scatter dice again?
I think so. I know Adeptus Titanicus does. Still uses.
Well, that's where I would have it then.
And then
Yeah.
you get a whole bag for all the infantry of bases, and they are, let's see if we can see this on camera, very nicely
Oh, those are cute.
textured. And there's a couple different designs too, so gives you some variety. And unlike previous editions, right, the models don't go into the bases; they sit on top, so you can paint the
Right.
bases and the models separately.
That is good. I mean, it's good, but at the same time, it means that they're not like flush with the base,
Yeah,
which was kind of a neat feature. Now, to be honest, like full disclosure, the only epic stuff I've had for in the past was Forge World Tau epic stuff. So that didn't go too far.
I will.
And
say,
I will reiterate my disappointment that we don't get Xenos with this.
Yeah, I hope we see it in a somewhere in the future. I will say that I like these better, having painted lots of epic stuff, just because getting the texture in between those tiny little legs and getting that painted was a little bit of a pain.
No, fair enough.
And then we have the Warhound base as well, which is just another nice big
Oh, I like
base.
that one is textured too.
Yeah. So
Hopefully, we'll get some of these things available separately.
yeah, I imagine they would, because I'm sure people want to perhaps change the Titans they have onto those bases, because your AT bases are quite thicker, and they don't, unless you're crazy like me and get the names printed out and put on there, they don't really serve any purpose other than having little heights of them like their standard game bases. So, speaking of bases, this is the Aeronautica switch over your bases. It's just a bag of 4 bases. Looking through
Just
the
as
rules.
impressive as I thought it would be.
Yeah. Looking through the rules, most aircraft formations kind of top out at 4, so a bag of 4 makes sense. And again, they are textured just like the other bases, and they do come with the ball and socket, and the socket clips right into the Aeronautica Mini, just like the current bases do for them.
That's true. I was trying to remember if the Aeronautica ship were ball and socket, but they are.
And they, yeah, and
That way
just
you
like,
can have them like sort of rolling and having a bit of tilt to them.
and they do have that nice, where they've designed it where the minis snap on just like the AI ones, which is great. So we have a couple box expansions
Well,
as well.
and that's important because if you still want to play some of your planes with AI, which I definitely will be, I want to be able to switch them over from the 2 different bases.
And the storage is way easier too.
Yeah, that's true.
Take off. So, 2 things coming out on launch are the Legions Astartes Infantry and Solar Auxilia Infantry. These are basically those 2 sprues from the box set. The 2 for the Space Marines come in this box, and the 2 for the Imperial Guard, Solar Auxilia, come in this box. It's just more troops.
I was gonna say, like, you say infantry, but it looks like there's like a dreadnought and a sentinel in these.
Yes, so if we look at the back, right, it tells you what comes in there, and it is exactly the same as those 2 sprues. So you do get some dreadnoughts for the Space Marines, and some of the heavy sentinels for the Solar Auxilia as well. So it's exactly the same as what comes in the box. So I think what's going to depend on the success of this game is the price point of these boxes, because troops don't cost a lot in this game, as you would expect from an epic game.
Well, you want to be able to field a lot of them.
Yes.
So they have to be point-wise cheap. But if they're point-wise cheap, you also need to be sort of not cost too many dollars also.
And then one of the first expansion boxes is the Baneblade box set slash.
Like it says Squadron, so it's not just one Baneblade in there.
Yes, and you can build it as Baneblades or Hellhammers. You get 2 to the box. You also get some transfers in there, and if we crack this open real quick, let's look at the sprues. You can kind of see
crack it open, man. It's an unboxing. Unbox.
So these are 1 tank per sprue. You get 2 sprues, and has all the options to go Hellhammer or Baneblade. Obviously, as you would expect, if you compare just the chassis of that to, or the track to the track, obviously as you'd expect, the Baneblade is down here is much beefier than even the MacLeod, which is a pretty big tank. So get 2 of those for that squadron. And a transfer sheet. And also, we have the Kratos Heavy Tank Squadron as well. Now, this box contains 4 tanks rather than 2.
Oh. Well, Kratos is a smaller tank than a Baneblade.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if we take a look at these as well, I assume we're going to see, you get some transfers as well, and I assume we're going to see 2 to a sprue. Yep, so 2 to a sprue for these tanks. So...
very cool.
Yep, so those look like as far as we know at the time of recording this video, those are the expansions that will be available right off the bat. As of recording this video, we are waiting for a Rhino box set, which I guess comes from a different warehouse, which is why they can't tell me when we're going to get it. But there's also a Rhino box set, which is going to contain 8 rhinos, because as you assume with Space Marines, you can just buy transports for them. And
did you say 8 rhinos?
I think it was 8, maybe it was 10. But it's sort of like old Epic where one rhino holds 2 stands of guys.
Right. But still, it's a lot. I mean, most armies do not have, like, you don't show up to your 2,000 point tournament game with 8 to 10 rhinos.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I mean, just from one box, you're already in epic territory as far as quantities of those vehicles. So, I mean, that's promising. If we're talking about being able to fill a table with massive amounts of infantry and tanks.
Yes, and they showed today the army cards, so those are going to be a little separate package too, which again we haven't received yet. But you'll actually have, just like second edition, the little cards to build your army, right? The little detachment cards.
Right.
So that should be a nice little nostalgic throwback, and it'll have all the rules on there too. The table size is supposed to be 5x4, which is unfortunately a weird size for those tiles.
What size are the tiles anyway?
They're 1x1, so you need 20 tiles, and they come in packs of 6.
Oof. Well, we'll see what the price point is for those two.
And a standard game is supposed to be 3,000 points. So we'll dig into points at a later date, but infantry aren't much, and like a Warhound Titan is like 330 points. So I would expect when a lot of players are starting off, you'll be bulking out that's why they give you 2 Warhound Titans, right? Because that gives a nice little heft to the army.
It's a good way to start as far as points are concerned. I don't have any epic models, so I doubt I'll be able to do a sort of painting guide or anything like that. I may paint up one of my Titanicus models as sort of a tribute to the release of the game, seeing if I have time. But otherwise, this looks like a promising game. I like, for some reason, even though it is a big full box, after Leviathan, after some of the kill team stuff with all the terrain that we get in there, after Ash Waste, I feel like it's almost a reasonable box, and that's kind of refreshing.
I'm excited to see where the price point is on it too.
Right.
Hopefully it's reasonable, and hopefully the infantry boxes are also reasonable, because if you think about the starter box, you get 2 stands of Terminators. The expansion box comes with 2 stands of Terminators, and as they showed in the preview today, right, a formation of just Terminators can be up to 8 bases of Terminators. So that's a lot to invest if those boxes are expensive. But what's interesting and we'll talk about it later with army building, is you can add on to your tactical formation, you can add a couple stands of Terminators or a couple stands of Assault Marines. They don't have to be their own thing. So lots of options on how to build your army.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to digging in once, if and when I get a hold of the book. Hopefully the book will be sold separately at some point, because I don't know if I'll be able to get the box set when it comes out. But I'm definitely going to dig into the rules and have a look at it. I know my brother was big into Epic. Right now, both are. My paint list is, my schedule is a bit full, so I can't really take on another big project. But once things come to calm down, there's no doubt that my gaming group here is going to want to jump into this.
And keep an eye on our Facebook page, because as soon as we're off this call, I'm going to start clipping and priming some Imperial Fists.
Oh yeah, and listen, if there's ever been a series, a collection of models that are prime subjects for some of the easier painting techniques, like contrast and slap chop, whatever, like from going, because at that scale you don't worry so much about the quality as you would on a larger fig. Like, you want them to look good, but they're too small to be really investing into like painting eyes and things.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do, especially Imperial Fist. That's a striking color scheme, as always, bright yellows and all.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should, like you said, it should be easy to paint. And these compared to the older Epic minis, these are just big enough that if you want to paint a shoulder pad a different color or the bolters, it's not as much of a struggle as it used to be, because there's a lot more. They're a lot beefier.
Yeah, it's a good balance between having some details without doing 6 layers of highlights.
Exactly.
Well, Matt, thanks super very much for coming on to Warhammer Workshop and doing this unboxing with us. It's all like, obviously sometimes we have limitations as to the materials that we have, but maybe whenever we have situations like that again in the future, we'll have you on again so that we can at least be able to show our viewers and our listeners from 40K Radio something more visual about the products that we receive, because we do have that privilege, and the whole point is to be able to share it with our viewers and listeners. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and again, thank you Games Workshop for sending us these things to review.
Materials shown in this video are provided fully or in part by Games Workshop for promotional purposes. If you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping us a like and subscribing. Thanks for watching.